The political hackery just never ends with these people. It seems like more and more Democrats are finally starting to see the writing on the wall, but rather than back off their insanity and maybe pitch a decent policy, or at least just stop trying to mandate strange medical injections and stop making every single little tiny thing about race, they double, triple, and quadruple down. Sometimes they'll back off and just pretend like none of this stuff ever even happened, but credit where it's due, because this is what separates them. They truly do not care what anybody else thinks. They just want the power, and they make that crystal clear. Most people on the right, or even in the common sense center, will apologize and back off of their positions when there's enough Democrat media pressure, like Joe Rogan, despite the fact that he gets exponentially more viewers than any mainstream outlet, but that's a different story. And in this particular situation, I will give the establishment 0.00001% credit, because now they have a CNN correspondent who's finally saying, oh, well, maybe we don't need to force people to wear masks, but that's just because the science has changed. It has nothing to do with the fact that Jeff Zucker stepped down or got fired or whatever happened. Just like California is now backing off their mask mandate, and I'm sure that had nothing to do with a gang of politicians taking photos at a football game while apparently they were holding their breath. And I'm sure it also has nothing to do with the fact that the Super Bowl is being held in Los Angeles while the entire state is apparently still under a state of emergency. I don't even know anymore. But now that that's all over, they are coming after the NFL. They are coming after the Super Bowl because the NFL has shown that they can be bullied and they will capitulate to weirdo leftist demands. And this time it's voting rights. Just the other day, I made a video about it. We saw the mayor of Miami-Dade make a whole scene and call for an investigation, basically because Republicans were registering voters in a housing complex, and obviously the housing complex residents belong to Democrats. And this is all so calculated, you almost have to applaud it. They come after what you love most. They say that you're going to kill grandma if you don't get the shot. You're going to kill grandma if you don't wear a mask. Your kids are going to die if they don't get the shot. Your kids are going to die if they don't wear a mask. Also, we're going to trans the kids for their own safety, but that too is a different story. And now that they've come after everything you love, what else do they have except for arguably one of the most American things ever, the Super Bowl? Move 2023 Super Bowl out of Arizona. That's what faith leaders want to do to voting bill restrictions. So obviously it's framed in this weirdo left-wing narrative, voting restrictions, of course, which didn't matter when Barack Obama was elected. I guess it did matter when Trump was elected because the wrong people were voting. But now that they've got a complete Democratic majority in everything, and they see that they're about to lose because they know that everything they're doing is awful, they're saying, well, now you're restricting us. Basically, they're saying that we want illegals to vote. That's the long play, but I'll move on. Faith leaders from around the country are calling for the NFL to move the 2023 Super Bowl out of Arizona, citing several bills they characterize as voter suppression. So voter suppression is up there in the Democrat doublespeak Hall of Fame, all the euphemisms, voter suppression. It means absolutely nothing except for we're probably going to lose this round. We all would love for Arizona to see that kind of revenue, to bring that many people here to invest in our state. But I think there are times where you can't remain silent. And this is the time where money has to not supersede morality, said the Reverend Donta McGelvery, pastor of outreach and justice at First Institutional Baptist Church in Phoenix. We have to show that money cannot be more important than people. And right now, the most important thing is voting rights and how our government is restricting that. So Rona's gone, doesn't matter anymore. The most important thing is obviously voting rights, because it's looking like people aren't going to vote for us this time around. The Reverend Stephen A. Green, chair of Faith for Black Lives in New York, created a petition addressed to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell calling for Super Bowl 57 to be moved from Arizona, which is scheduled for February 12, 2023 in Glendale. It now has over 200 signatures from faith leaders, including the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and Bishop William Barber II. Okay, so of course, a guy that works for a Black Lives Church in New York is mad at Arizona because they got the Super Bowl, but they don't tell us where it should go. Should it just pick up and go to New York? Should it go to California? Where does the Super Bowl deserve to be, according to Stephen A. Green of Black Lives Church in New York? None of this makes any sense, and they have more than 200 signatures. Where did we just see that, right? I mean, we just had 275 quote-unquote doctors say that Joe Rogan is a threat to humanity. So they are obviously using the same playbook over and over and over again. And it's just mind-numbing how they continue to do this, because whenever they don't get their way, they throw these little temper tantrums, and most of the time, they work. That's the worst part. The NFL has recently considered relocating Super Bowl 57 because of COVID-19. So, again, they're worried about COVID a year from now, which means they obviously never want this to stop. And I don't know why the NFL is so concerned with COVID, right? You weren't mad about Magic Johnson. That man has AIDS and he's in there maskless. But again, that's a different story. We as faith leaders ask you to consider relocating Super Bowl 57 from Arizona because of another disease, the disease of racism, and particularly its symptom of voter suppression, the petition said. This is so painful to read. This is so painful to see these people grasping at straws. Okay, so racism is stopping people from voting, so you should stop the Super Bowl? This doesn't make any sense. The bills in question include SB 1003, would limit the amount of time voters have to fix a signature, and SB 1485, whatever. I don't even trust that this ABC 15 Arizona news outlet is going to properly characterize those bills that I personally haven't read, but I'm so jaded to the point where if Reverend Jesse Jackson and the Reverend Stephen Green of Church for Black Lives in New York are saying that it's bad, it's probably actually a good thing. That's how awful these people have become. Of the 200 plus signatures from faith leaders, 36 live in Arizona. So a fraction of the people who want to stop this live in Arizona. So why do people in New York and California or Colorado, Washington, or wherever really care? This is so painful to watch. It's like when Texas says, okay, we're not going to do abortion anymore. Everybody in New York starts crying, but Cuomo said you could kill your baby until he gets to kindergarten. So I don't know why they're so worried about this. And they don't have anything to pitch. They have no ideas. They don't know where to put the Super Bowl. In fact, they would probably just cancel it if it wasn't 100% black, because, I mean, the Super Bowl is in February after all. But if all they want to do is make your life totally miserable because you won't vote the way they want to vote, you won't vote for all their bizarre proposals that are built to give these people power indefinitely,